Hello, dear friends. We are happy you are with us today. This is another international discussion of the topics raised at the conference Global Crisis, Time for the Truth. On the 1st of December 2021, this historical event united millions of people all over the world. The thing I love about this event is that it was organized purely by volunteers, by common people from over 180 countries who have already become real heroes as they selflessly and devotedly stood for the entire humanity, stood for the life of every human on the planet Earth. Within the 12-hour broadcast, they were uncovered the most relevant and vital topics of our contemporary society. So many scientific facts, eyewitness reports, and tremendous amount of analytical data has been presented to people in such a clear, honest, and comprehensive manner. People stopped being silent. The truth was voiced openly and honestly by volunteers in live broadcasts in 100 languages to reach the heart of every person in every corner of the world.
Yes, this conference caused a huge resonance worldwide, and we received so much feedback, the letters and comments from people, which gave us a clear understanding that we need to continue voicing the truth and continue uniting people. So thus on May 7th this year, the entire humanity will take a next strategically important step forward. We invite scientists, experts, and all people to participate at the conference in the International Forum, Global Crisis, We Are People, We Want to Live. And it will be held on the platform Creative Society Project. And to learn more about it, please visit the website creativesociety.com.
Friends, we have two amazing guests today. So please let me introduce Ksenia Rivat, reporting analyst from Netherlands, and RoyStar SoundSick, recording artist, songwriter, and musician from the United States. Welcome, friends. Pleasure to have you here with us today.
Welcome also from my side. Thank you for joining in this conversation today, and we are very happy to see you again. So before we start with our topics, let's watch a video, the review of the past conference, Global Crisis, Time for the Truth. Let's watch what topics were raised at the conference, what facts moved us to continue these discussions. So let's watch the video, please.
Four months have passed since the time of the previous conference, and over this relatively short period, we have seen how much the progression of climate change and environmental degradation has accelerated. It's important not to remain silent, because this survival of all humanity is at stake. It is time for the truth.
We are now in a world where every single day, somewhere in the world, a climate extreme event is going to take place that will break the world record of that particular place.
The European floods this summer, or the Western North America heat wave this summer. Both of those extreme events were due to the jet stream reacting in very unusual ways, in ways that climate models did not predict would happen.
When I'm out in the field, I always hear people say that I never thought it would happen to me, and they're always surprised. Can you imagine how devastated you would be if you lost everything that you owned? If you watched the people around you, the people that you love, struggle and suffer or even die?
We have to understand we're one people on one planet, and it's up to us together to solve these problems.
We cannot leave it to our leaders. The leaders have shown that they are not up to the task. The leaders think of themselves as leaders of their own country. They don't care about the rest of the world.
The problem right now is we've all surrendered a certain amount of our power to centralized authority, and they're trying to use that to take over everything. And they've been using this excuse of anthropogenic global warming in order to try to consolidate their wealth and control. So we've got to just completely abandon and expose that.
The discussion about the climate is narrowed down to the reduction of CO2 and global warming gases. And I think the problem is much broader than that.
There's a widespread belief that climate change is a result of human activity. This is reflected in the 5th and the 6th report of the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. But these beliefs are wrong.
The world's governments, through the UN, formed the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change. Now, you would think that would be studying climate change, but they specified that you study the human causes of climate change. So they ruled out all natural factors. They said, no, we're not going to study whether the sun plays a role. We're not going to study whether volcanoes play a role. We're not going to study whether ocean current shifts play a role. And we really don't understand clouds, so we're not going to count them much. What we're going to study is human CO2 emissions, because that's what we can get a handle on. That's not the way science is supposed to work.
Anthropogenic global warming is a grandiose scientific scam of the 20th century.
Green energy is not green at all. And wind power is not green because wind farms require enormous amounts of concrete and metal to construct, disturb wildlife, harm human health with noise pollution, kill hundreds of thousands of birds each year, pollute our air and water supply. We pay high prices for something that will never meet our needs.
We need to build a humanity that lives like a beehive, and we have to build a society that puts human life first. If we combine our scientific, technological, and intellectual resources, we can solve the problem of climate change.
If we fail, we face the real possibility that if we don't get our act together and start preparing for this cataclysm, we face the very real possibility of extinguishing human life on the Earth. A supervolcano is quite capable of completely taking a species out. And I say, if we come together correctly, if we really put our hearts and our minds to the task of preparing correctly, then we could not only survive what's coming, we could be the first species on this nice little blue marble to thrive through the next cyclical destruction.
Let's follow the Creative Society's survival guide. The 3 easy steps. Learn more, spread information, and unite to build a creative society.
After all, this world is given to all mankind with only one purpose: to live and be healthy, happy, to create and not to destroy.
The Creative Society is a project of everyone. We do not collect any donations or funds that disappear in the deep pockets. Instead, each person acts in their abilities and uses resources they already have. It is your opportunity to be a part of the solution and live out your superhero potential.
That was truly unprecedented event. And Ksenia, we know that you and your family, you take an active part in the Creative Society project, and you are one of thousands of people who prepared the conference Global Crisis, Time for the Truth. The question is, what drives you to be active and why you believe it is important?
Thank you. Greetings, everybody. Thank you so much for inviting me to today's roundtable. My husband and me, we are actively participating in projects in order to build creative society. We believe that this is the main investment of our time and attention at the current times. If you look around, the climate changes occurring. And if sometimes you would believe that climate change would happen, or devastating moment would appear somewhere far, far away on another continent. But this year, for example, I'm residing in the Netherlands, and this year to our neighbor countries, Germany, France, devastating event happened. And we simply cannot just sit and wait for anything else happening to us, and most important, to anybody around us. To be honest, I personally feel responsible to spreading the information, to let people know, and to not just simply convincing them, but actually showing the true data that is given by researchers, telling the truth and openly saying what is happening around us, and striving for this information to be all around us, for us to understand that we cannot sit, we cannot wait, because if something happened to somebody, it can happen to us. It's such a moment right now in our historical past that if we don't do it, nobody will do it. And if sometimes I question myself, what will I answer to my children when they ask me what is happening around this and why it's happening? And I cannot answer simply because somebody didn't take care of it. I need to answer that I did my best to make sure that your life is in a good hands.
Wonderful. That's a wonderful question, because this is exactly what all parents across the globe ask themselves. So, in what conditions, in what society, what world we will leave behind for our children, for our family? And thank you very much for being part of this great human initiative. And Roy, I would like to ask you also the question. We know that you and other volunteers prepared this song, Time for the Truth. That was an anthem of this conference. So what drives you to take part in it and to be active in the project?
I was just really motivated by the current situation, everything that's going on in the world. And when we're faced with such facts and we're faced with the truth, it's hard to be silent. It's hard to not do anything when we can. So when the opportunity to create the song came about, I was extremely happy to be able to participate and to help spread this knowledge and spread this message.
Maybe you could say a few words. Why is it time for truth? So why truth? Because, we live in a 21st century where there's so much information, but indeed, where is the truth? So many people are not informed, as we see today, what is really happening in our society, what is the real cause of climate disasters. So why is the time for truth today?
The time for the truth is so that we can collectively and effectively get to the correct solutions to face our problems. And that requires the truth. Unfortunately, we all live in a consumer society where we're fed so many lies, unfortunately, to perpetuate capitalism. And only the truth can set us free from that. So I think right now is the time for the truth in order to not only face our problems, but to also set us free from this cycle of consumerism that we've been in.
Absolutely agree with you. Yeah.
Thank you, Roy, and thank you, Ksenia, for sure. This is time for truth, and we should start acting immediately. And we should be able to tell our kids that we did our best when we were required to act. Seeing what's going on right now, sometimes I can't just sleep because I realize that we have not enough time to cope with the current situation. And increasing and escalating climate disasters, they have already forced too many people to migrate. But the issue of rights and solutions for climate refugees at the most vulnerable social group is not even on any agenda in any country of the world. And for sure, there are some organizations to help refugees, but as we see, nothing is really changing globally. And the paradox is that everyone knows that the problem exists, but there is no one who can really solve it, because everyone is concerned about profit, about power, comfort in this consumerist society. So, even many people, they still believe that the climate won't affect them. But we know that this is not the truth. To show the urgency of the current situation with refugees, volunteers of the Creative Society Project prepared a film about them. And this film was presented at the conference. So let's watch a short bit about it.
Why is there such inhuman treatment of people? I was thinking about it and decided to figure it out.
You will never spend a month without being attacked with a xenophobic attack, because they say as a foreigners we are stealing their work. I've lost that hope of being in the great society. I don't know, I've lost that hope, because seeing the way that people are being killed, seeing the way that people are being shot in my eyes.
A child can be sold many times. I remember one day I came across the story of a girl who was, she was Turkish. She had been sold 17 times, and she had been trafficked from one country to another 17 times, and she had experienced only rape.
I also sat in many auctions as a customer, as an undercover when I was doing the undercover. There where we were sitting for the auctions, 9-year-old girl, 10-year-old girl, as per the demands. So the trade called the first time sex. Whenever the auctions will happen, new girls arrive in the trade, so they put the auctions. So who will bid the last demand, the money, that person only will use that became full night for his choice.
The business that is made of spare parts, the human spare parts. How many children have been transferred from one place to another and then being operated on for some rich guys in different parts of the world to get a kidney or get something else from their bodies against their will?
Black market, traffickers, mafia is part of this economy that is ruling the world. So what else I can say? That I only see that another possibility is to spend money instead of constructing walls like we are doing in Europe.
In our society, human life has no value. How is it possible that instead of help, people encounter violence, aggression, abuse, and slavery? This is not a migration crisis, but this is a crisis of humaneness.
People, by looking at the existing legal frame, will not ever be entitled asking for protection. Because you will ask them which country you're coming from, they would say there is no country. I had a country called X, but the country now is underwater. Or I had a village and this village is being totally destroyed or disappearing.
It turns out that there are still no effective programs for the resettlement of refugees. For so many years, the United Nations has been working. For so many years, the Refugee Rights Commission has been working. So many humanitarian organizations and NGOs around the world have been working, but there are no working, established or adopted programs on how to work with these refugees. There are none, and the Refugee Commission itself admits this.
Now refugees are forced to leave their homes. They face condemnation and cruelty. They are left alone with their misfortune because of the consumerist format of society. Tomorrow's climate catastrophes could be upon us as well. Answer yourself honestly. Are you ready to face what refugees face? Are you sure you won't be in their shoes? That you and your loved ones won't have to go through what they're going through?
Yes, this is indeed an inconvenient truth, and everyone who watched the conference and this documentary were shocked what is really going on in our society and with our silent actually agreement with it. And many people ask themselves, so why is it happening? Who is responsible for it? But if we look deep into the roots, then we understand that this is the society we built together. So this is the consumer world where the profit decides upon the lives of people, because the human life has no value in consumer society. So Ksenia, you are the mother, and you are the one who cares for not only your children, for people, for your neighbors, for the entire humanity, because it's not possible to be inactive. So why do you think it is today so urgent and important to change the whole format of the society, not to deal with the cause in little, on little aspects, but really to change the whole format?
Thank you. Yes, it's painful to watch the truth. But let's continue. Today, we live in a society which there is violence, war, hunger, and poverty. And many people are preoccupied with the problems related to basic survival. And this is actually happening in the existing economic and political world order, which is actually unable to provide us as human beings stability in our current society. Crises are happening in multiple levels all over the world, and we reach this climax. And I would say that such society that we live at the moment has no future. By consuming, we are destroying ourselves, our planet, and whether we like it or not, but by condemning ourselves and our children to salvation and death, we pretend that this is not the right thing to do. Well, that this actually what we're doing right now is the right thing to do. But in times of peace, far more people actually die as a result of crime than in the armed conflicts. And I think you've known that the most vulnerable people who are suffering are women and children. And for them is the most dangerous place actually to be living at home. And all of this actually triggering people to commit home violence is all the factors around them, which is instability, suffering, or even being scared simply what will happen in the future. And according to UN worldwide, up to 38% of murders are actually murders of women committed by the intimate partners. Can you imagine 38%? Every year, 1 in 2 children under the age of 17 actually is exposed to some degree of violence. About 300 million children between the age of 2 and 4 are subject to severe discrepancy and punishment. These children often exhibit emotional and mental disorders, and as a result, can lead later on in the violence in themselves. These conditions in society for the existence of human violence against human beings. One from which is violence is slavery, and this was, as was mentioned as well on the video. According to officials' UN data, human trafficking occurs in 148 countries. They are sold for the purpose of sexual or labor exploration, for participation in armed conflicts, for being just themselves. They even become victims of organ trafficking. Child labor is also an unresolved problem in our society. And according to UNICEF 2020 data, approximately 160 million children, or 1 child in 10, are employed in child labor. Children are used to be as a cheap labor, and they are doing simply to survive. Children have to work on farms, on plantation, often in life and health-threatening conditions. As of June 2021, more than 150 products are produced in 77 countries using child or forced labor. For example, children work at the stages of the fashion clothing supply chain, producing cotton seeds in Benin, harvesting cotton in Uzbekistan, making yarn in India, and assembling clothes in factories across Bangladesh. In this consumer format of society, money prevails over human life, and people's relationships are based on domination and competition for resources. And the cheapest resource have become man, human being. In the struggle for resources and margins, we may lose our humanity. In a consumer society, the goal of any production is to increase profits, no matter what the cost is. We are constantly persuaded that consumer format contributes to economic growth, improves human well-being. But do you believe so? Do you think it's normal? After all, in consumer society, there is no way to create anything without harming the planet and human, because the motto of the consumer civilization is the desire, fear, consume, and dominate. And I would like to ask you a question. Can we stop satisfying our endless desires? Can we cope with the ecological and climatic changes of this consumerism format in our society? And how we will live when the resources on our planet run out? What will become each of us?
You know, facts and statistics which you presented, you mentioned during your answer, they're frightening. And for me personally, it's hard to believe that, taking into account all these horrible things happening, we as humanity still exist on this planet. It's pure surprise for me. Roy, a question for you. These topics of refugees, topics of human trafficking, of slavery, etc., they are kind of taboo, and they are not broadly discussed today. And so many people, I would say too many people, they are not even aware that these horrible crimes are happening. And of course, they do not know that the number of these crimes and their cruelty, they are increasing. The documentary about refugees and human trafficking touched people deeply. And now I'd like to know your personal understanding of the current situation with refugees. How do you, as father, you see this? How you see the situation with slavery and human trafficking? What do you feel when you hear these topics, hear about what's going on in the world?
It's disturbing, to know that these things are occurring and we're not doing anything about it. It raises the question, what type of world will we leave for our children? And what type of world will our children grow up in if we don't do anything about it now? And as we've seen with the climate catastrophes, they strike so suddenly that it can happen to anyone. If a climate disaster were to hit any one of our areas, we'd be in the same position as any of the refugees around the planet today. So I think that it's something that we should take very seriously. I think it's something that we should act upon immediately in order to reduce the amount of casualties from these climatic events. And I just think it's something that we should definitely start paying more attention to and, trying to remedy the situation as much as possible.
Well, you just mentioned climate disasters, and so I just have a question for you. You are from the United States of America, developed, progressive country, and referring to the recent climate disasters which happened in the United States, have you been prepared for those events? Could you imagine that this can happen in the United States of America?
No, not at all. Especially with the tornadoes in Kentucky. just the large scale devastation that occurred and how suddenly everything happened. It just goes to show that, one, we're not prepared to deal with catastrophes of that scale, and two, they can strike suddenly and devastate everything we know. So I think we need to be prepared and start preparing now ahead of time for these type of events.
Yes, these shocking events in the United States, and then each day after in other countries, because the catastrophes are now occurring in each country across the globe. So that it's just waking up people, and they asking, so why the politicians are not doing something? So they should do their job, or they should save us, they should do something. But, we have an answer on this question. So we did an experiment in the preparation for the conference, Global Crisis, Time for the Truth. People, volunteers across the globe did an action. They sent thousands of letters to the leaders, to politicians, to CEOs of huge organizations like UN and WHO and so on. Then we, of course, invited also the celebrities, because these are the ones who we look at. So these are the people we adore, so we glorify, and we hope them that they would say a few words that would unite us all, because there's millions of people following them. But, we saw that there's an ignorance, that no one is caring about our future, even about their own future. So we saw the shocking truth, and we had also a big lesson, from this experience. We really learned that this is not them we should rely on. This is us. So our future is in our own hands, and only together we can find a solution and go through the challenges that stand before and actually already taking place. So let's watch the video about this experiment.
Remember these people. Each of them was sent an official invitation to the international conference, Global Crisis, Time for the Truth, which was held on December 4th. Through the efforts of volunteers, it was translated into 100 languages. But these people didn't attend to it. Less than a week after the conference, the tornadoes of unprecedented scale of devastation swept the United States. Many people have died, amongst them small children.
I'm gonna miss her so much.
I came back last night, but they were screaming.
A lot of people lost their loved ones today.
I'm all right. I'm all right.
I'm looking for my wife, and I need her.
There were people everywhere, lots of children, people with lacerations, broken bones. I mean, they just kept coming in. We were using different parts of the hospital for triage, and we were suturing people up normally where we pre-op people before surgery, the ER. I mean, it was kind of crazy.
The sounds that I was hearing was like a war zone. People crying and begging for help.
Those images, just like last night, I was in my daughter's house and I was trying to sleep, and I couldn't because I was still hearing the sirens and the people begging for help, and the images of the lady with the baby in her arm, dead,
The conference to which we invited all these famous people was aimed at solving climate problems. A lot of people supported it. But these celebrities and politicians did not come. They ignored the invitation from people all over the world. None of them supported the conference or gave their opinion on climate change. Therefore, when you watch films with their participation, attend their concerts, listen to the inspiring speeches of these politicians. Remember these shots. It affects everyone.
It's obvious that the climate doesn't care how famous you are. No one will be safe if we do nothing today, if we don't do our best together. That's why we ask celebrities to speak up about the urgent need to unite, and they are those who can speed this process up. Roy, you personally took part in inviting famous people to speak at the conference, but as we see, too many didn't come. Without blaming and rather being really worried and curious about the real reason. What's going on? Why didn't the stars come when we need them most of all, when their voice is really important?
To be honest, ultimately, I think it boils back down to capitalism. A lot of those people have sponsorships, have business deals that they value more than speaking up on the truth. They value their status as opposed to using their platforms to actually help people and spread a positive, truthful message that will help everyone. So I think it ultimately boils down to capitalism and their comfortable lives, unfortunately.
Yes, it is indeed the fact, because we sometimes, as a reply on our invitation, we even got, the question, so that this would cost you several thousands, hundred thousands of euros or dollars. Can you pay it? So and this was really something that woke us up to understand that we shouldn't be naive to live in such a world where human life has no value, to expect someone to save us. So this was for us an important lesson to understand that in these conditions, everyone will only think of him or herself and hope that someone will save him. But this is the time for the truth. And this was our lesson for us all and those who watched the conference, to understand that this is the point where we as humanity stop relying our responsibility on someone else and start acting and caring for our common future together.
Sure. And cataclysms don't look at status and don't look at how much money someone has. They will for sure spare no one. And cataclysms don't care about our imaginary borders. They happen in all countries, even in economically developed ones. No country, no matter where it is, no matter how developed it is, can counteract the power of climate change. And we see that it's time to understand what's going on and to finally wake up. Ksenia, what's your opinion about that, about the climate catastrophes going on right now?
I would say that as I'm active participant in spreading information about creative society, I do look at graphs and information that actually volunteers are presenting in their social medias. And by simply looking at the graphs of all the catastrophes that are happening, and if you look at the historical curve, you can see clearly that it's increasing. And this fact should actually raise awareness, or at least curiosity, of all people around the world to say that indeed something is happening. And cataclysms are increasing more and more. Every day we can hear something on the news. But the most tragic for me personally is that it is not well communicated. We sometimes focus on specific situation, but I believe that this should be the main topic for all the people to discuss, that indeed cataclysms are increasing, cataclysms are growing all around, and we should be aware of it, and we should have some kind of a rescue plan. Because if we don't do anything and we hope that somebody will come and save us, well, to be honest, it will not happen. And like I mentioned earlier, that in the neighbor countries, when such a tragic situation happened as flooding in Germany and France, I thought that those are developed countries, as we say it, and those developed countries has enough financing abilities to actually support people, to send helicopters and to send ambulances to rescue those people. But at the end, if you look at what happened to people, people were on it in Belgium, for example, people were sitting on the top of the roofs and waiting for aid, and helicopter was not able to take them because they were saying that it was not enough capacity of helicopters, so they needed to wait, and they spent actually hours and hours waiting for help. And for me, I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe that so much money or the budget is allocated on military forces, but in such a moment when people need help, how come there is no help at all? And since then, I realized that living in developed country, it doesn't say anything. And who will help you? Nobody but yourself. So before some tragic moment happens to us, why don't we spread this information? Why don't we unite all together to make sure that we have proper innovations to be able to rescue us all in case some other catastrophe happening?
Yes, absolutely. And, I'm now in Germany, I'm living in Germany, and it was also shocking to see that people were not, prepared. They were not informed. There was no alarm and so on. So it was really shocking. And I think it is a big signal for all of us to see that, no country can cope with these cataclysms alone. And what is most important is to understand how critical the situation is actually now on our Earth. Because when we do understand what is the true reason, which is not the CO2, and we cannot just deal with the CO2, with the taxes in order to stop climate, this is not the truth. It's just the lies that we still believe. And after the 4th of December, people do understand that the reason for the climate change are the cyclic events that happening every 12,000 years. And we see these changes now on all levels of our planet, and everyone is really affected. So we need today this potential of the whole entire humanity to find a solution. And, we know that sooner or later, also famous people will join us. But the fact is, we don't have that time. So we don't have that much time to waste this time. So that's why I'm so grateful for everyone, for all volunteers and all people who are taking part in creative society. And thanks to these people, I just even can't say people, because these are the true heroes. So these are the real heroes who, spend days and nights in preparation of this event, making everything possible to unite people so that the entire humanity can meet in one point, speak in 100 languages. It was thousands of hours of preparation, thousands of video editings, of translations into 100 languages. This was technical support, preparing all the live streams on all the languages so that people could hear this message, the truth, for them all. And, it became possible just because of ordinary people like me and you, dear viewers. And we would like to announce that the documentary about the preparation to this historical event is now out in English language. And we invite you to watch a little fragment from this documentary about how was this event possible. So let's watch a video.
Have you met true heroes? Probably the first thing you think about is the heroes from Hollywood movies. But have you met heroes in real life? True heroes are among us. It's just that their superweapons are open hearts, a desire to serve people and help every person on the planet, and the courage to voice the truth to the whole world. They do this not for money and not for the sake of glory, because true heroes are ordinary humans with a capital letter H. The event that took place on the 4th of December, 2021, have brought together thousands of such people from all over the world. The worldwide conference, Global Crisis, Time for the Truth, went live in 100 languages of the world in order to reach the heart of every person on Earth. The broadcast lasted 12 hours, backed by 3,000 hours of dedicated and hard work of a dozen teams and thousands of human heroes from around the world. Someone said that it's impossible to implement such a thing, but all of us together, we did it. Friends, this means that we will also be able to implement the most important thing for which we take action to change the world for the better and to make the creative society a reality. In this video series, we will show only a very small part of the events behind the scenes during the preparations for the conference.
Yes, this is a little part of the documentary Heroes Behind the Scenes, and you can find it on the channel Creative Society or on official website creativesociety.com, and watch the first episode of this movie and make a picture how it was possible. So how this event just was made by ordinary people, and see the pictures of people who are working so long to prepare it.
And the thing that makes me smile in this extremely difficult climate situation which we have now is that we have real heroes among us, those heroes who take responsibility. Ksenia, you have a little child, and of course you care about next generation. What does it mean to you to take the responsibility for the future, for the common future of the whole humanity? Why do you see the creative society as the only solution?
Thank you. Actually, I have two girls. Well, for me, I believe that the creative society is actually the best solution out of this consumer society, simply based on my own understanding about the 8 foundations that creative society offers. And first and foremost, it's a human life. Human life has the highest value in creative society. If one person is valuable, then many people are valuable. And we should understand that if we all live with this motto, then no harm will be caused to any other person, because we will be carrying this love and care to everybody. As a mother, I do understand this simply because when you carry a child under your heart, you understand how valuable life is, because as a mother, you wait 9 months for the child to develop, then you give birth, then you spend, let's say, at least 16 years of educating your child, bringing the best knowledge, the best environment for your child. And you understand that all this time, simply if we just put it in the numbers, all this time to make the real human being. And how on earth can we say that killing is normal? It's not normal, because there are other people who dedicated their time and efforts to educate this human being. So every human being is valuable. That's why I support creative society, and I do my best to spread as much as possible to all people around me and around the world with social media, of course, to make sure that our children, actually us and our children, are raised as soon as possible, start to be raised within the creative society, to have those 8 foundations around them and to be grown up as with them, to be proper human beings to other people around them.
Yeah, thank you very much. It was very inspiring. And indeed, at the conference, it was discussed why creative society is the only chance to find also the solution for this cosmic race that we face each 12,000 of years as now. And it was discussed, in particular, what is this process? And to deal with that, we need new conditions for all the scientists. We need a goal that will really unite the whole potential, scientific, intellectual, also technical potential we have as humanity. But it will just not work. We see the science fail today even to see obvious thing, just because, a few dollars make their eyes just be blind. And we are thankful, very grateful for those who telling the truth, who see the whole picture. And we know that these conditions can be created only by us people. Roy, but this is actually the common question from people, what can I do? So I'm just a simple teacher, I'm a nurse or a cook. So how can I change the society? So what can be done? What can I do in order to contribute our big global change?
I think the first step is to just inform your friends, inform your family, inform your neighbors of what the creative society is, what opportunities it brings to humanity as a whole. And like you guys said, just spread the truth and let everyone know that it's time for the truth. And I think that's the best step to take at this moment.
Whereas we are at the information stage right now, it is extremely important to inform every single person in this world about what's going on and about the solution, the only solution, about the creative society. And I'm sure that together, during this discussion, we've been able to light up new hearts who will be interested in the project, who will be interested in what was discussed, and they will join the huge team of volunteers. Thank you so much, Ksenia, and thank you so much, Roy, for taking part in today's discussion. That was a real pleasure to see you, to talk to you today, as always, yeah. And thanks a lot. I'm sure more new discussions will come very soon. And more discussions with you for sure.
Thank you very much also from my side. And thank you for all people who really don't wait for someone to change something. This change begins with us. And there are already millions who act. So you are not alone. There are really millions in each country. You find the participants of creative society. But in order to make this global change, you are the one. So you are the one who is needed. And it was never simple as that as now to join such initiative. You can just call the website creativesociety.com or write us at the email info@creativesociety.com and join the project. So these heroes are today those who are not always seen on the screen, but these are the people who care for our future, who do everything possible to unite. And this is the time for real heroes. So if you thought that, sometime I will make, a big deal, big step and something heroical. So this is the time. So this is the time that has come for real heroes. And I'm happy to announce the next global forum that will take place on 7th of May this year. And the preparation for this forum has already begun and millions of people are already working. So it's called Global Crisis. We are people. We want to live. And this is exactly the motto that brings us together, because we know how serious the situation is, but we also know how much we can do together in order to find the solution. And thank you very much Please join the project, be a part of this big change, and see you in the next discussions. Thank you very much, dear friends.